If you've heard scratching or the sound of rats in the attic, you're not the only one. The Bay Area is experiencing a big increase in rodents, and with it, demand has surged for pest services.
Rats, those rodents that scurry around the DPW and construction sites, can make your skin crawl. The rodent population in Quincy has the mayor making an unprecedented budget request for an unprecedented rat control program.
Well, we told you last night that D.C. is in the middle of a rat battle. Complaints about rodents are way up across the city, almost 3,000 just this year.
New tonight at 8, residents of a Berkeley neighborhood are reporting a rise in rat infestations, and they're seeking help from the city to deal with the issue.
People in the concourse section in disbelief tonight after learning someone in their neighborhood has died from a rare disease carried by rats. New York City health officials say 3 people on the same block in the Bronx contracted leptospirosis, a bacterial infection most commonly spread by contact with rat urine.
Authorities in New York City are betting big on cats to clean up the city in another way. Because what's lurking behind every pile of trash? Rats. What do rats hate? Cats. Recently, feral cats have been unleashed at the Jacob K. Javits Convention Center on Manhattan's West Side, and the initiative has helped curb the rat population in the area. To be clear, the cats weren't placed near the loading docks for rodent control. It just happened to be a collateral benefit of their relocation, according to the NYC Feral Cat Initiative, a program of the Mayor's Alliance for NYC's Animals.
It's a daily battle for control and order in the gritty city. Cue the kitty. This is not your typical cat video, and it's not the regular type patrol for the people with the red berets. They walk and talk on the lookout. This mission is human and humane.
The legendary Guardian Angels are best known for taking on the bad guys on city subways, but nowadays they're focusing more on four-legged foes.
They're very territorial, they stay in the area, they keep the rats away. Very, very natural solution to everything.
Awesome. Yeah, so last year there was a woman who reached out because she had a few cats in her backyard. She wanted to get them fixed. So the Guardian Angels had assisted in helping, get her the training and setting up houses for the cats outdoors. And when she actually got to the date of trapping the cats, she brought one in, and only when it was inside did she realize it was a nursing mother cat. So that's an important situation, because if you got those tiny little kittens, like, they have no defenses, like, they need that mother cat. So it was a big question mark, like, do I get the cat fixed, or do I put her back outside? If you put her back out, you might not catch her again. So it defeats the purpose. So I helped her search for these cats. I mean, I even crawled in like the broken window of a garage type thing just to go in there, because there was we were running out of spaces to find where these kittens could be. And finally, across the street, after looking for 2 hours, we're climbing fences. I mean, it was but finally, and they weren't making no noise, they weren't crying, but we found them just huddled in a little corner. It's thank you. Well, we're just gonna do a quick perimeter walk around the neighborhood and see if we can find any spots where it seems like some of the cats are hovering toward, and kind of get a feel for it to see how many there are, or the condition they look in. Well, yeah, let's go this way. This looks like it could have some, because just that open area with where you can tell they're doing some sort of construction. Because yeah, as long as the cats can hide someplace where they're not going to be in harm's way, that's usually where they'll be.
What's the most common spot?
Well, it's interesting. In the city, it's really tough. The group that I first started taking care of, they literally live in the back of a common driveway. I mean, it's what's great about being in a little bit more of a country area. You can put the houses up on your property. It's okay. When you're doing stuff in the city, it's usually you're putting these things down in a place that's not your property. So you're just hoping people don't come along and take it or move it or destroy it. And a lot of it too is just community relations. People have the wrong idea of what you're doing. They think you're bringing them the cats there. So you have to explain to them, no, I'm here to address this issue so there's not so many of them. But yeah, like I said, sometimes people, that's the big thing, just explaining to people what you're doing, why it helps.
So Nancy,
yeah.
When you're walking through here,
yeah.
Obviously you run into cats, which are just cats. How can you tell immediately domestic cats that are taken care of by somebody as far as ownership that are just out running the streets and the rural cats that don't have anybody?
Well, let's see. So usually it's by a bit of either like maybe like their temperament or just really kind of the look of them. There's no question, like almost every indoor cat that I've seen is usually a little bit overweight. But when you see the outdoor cats, they're mostly skinny. Like you can see very clear structures on them. If you see any injuries, if you see dirty fur, you know, that's just a sign that it's an outdoor cat. When you do get the cats spayed and neutered and you bring them to these locations, they do something they call ear tipping. So if you ever see a cat with an ear tip, that's a great way to know that this is an outdoor cat, but someone actually fixed it and it's living in a colony and someone's taking care of it. So, but yeah, like it definitely just unkempt looking cats, that's usually a first sign. Like domestic cats are not the same as feral cats. Feral cats have a really good amount of skills, and a house cat's no match for them. So a domestic cat being dumped outdoors, not very likely that they're gonna make it. There's one right there. Now that looks like an unfixed cat, a feral, just based on its size. He looks like, kind of looks like a tomcat in a way. Let's see, how do we get to him? See, he's smart. He knows where to position himself, so he's pretty safe. He's that's like a cat who's been there a while. It's like, I'm not taking no chances. Now, in theory, if I was here all the time, I would consistently come back to this spot, and I would also just put little stuff down, knowing that the cat will eventually stumble upon it. And, you know, eventually figure out, like, what's going on. Like, oh, here's where the food's at. But usually when they're outdoors for a long time by themselves, it takes a little bit of work to get them to trust you. Yeah, because, again, they're very, you know, they're very habit-oriented. So once they find a place that's pretty much has, like, a place that they're relatively safe, or maybe there's a food source or a water source, you know, they don't have that desire to just, you know, go roam the land. Like, they will stay there. And that becomes like sort of a perimeter block for them or something like that. So, and some of them, like after a while, then they get to recognize you as well. So then they realize who you are. Like my first colony, I knew a lot of them from the time that they were kittens, so they know me very well. But you know, sometimes when you meet the cats when they're older, it's hard to tell like how comfortable they're going to be around people. But surprisingly, you know, they really pick up pretty quickly that you're not there to hurt them, especially if you have food. You know, they're happy about that. Yeah, so in all of the colonies, there's always a hierarchy of, usually the male cats, that's a big one, where it's the most aggressive male cat, and it's the one that will be sort of like the first line of defense when new cats come around the area, because again, they don't want them taking their food, all that kind of stuff. So that cat will always be the first to address anything if it happens. And then, you know, there'll be a degree of female cats, and if the group is fed well enough after they're fixed, they won't be combative toward each other. So a male won't chase another male out. But if they're not fixed, the moment that male becomes like a potential threat, which is usually like very young, like 3 or 4 months, he's getting kicked out of the group by the big male. Like he sees him as a threat already, because he realizes he could take him over. So he kicks him out, and then that cat has to just go off on its own. Like the mother cat doesn't leave the colony to go with the kitten because she has other kittens and that's her group. So yeah, they get pretty much put on their own very, very young outside. That's a rough face. Yeah, you can tell that's like a long time guy out here. Hi, baby. Baby. Like, he would be a perfect candidate for catching, because he looks like he's been beat up a little bit. And, you know, another thing too is they need a group when they're outdoors. Like, there's a reason why the colony makes sense. You know, one cat can't fend for itself, but in a group, you know, they can sort of keep each other safe and, you know, keep each other warm. And but yeah, this guy, they're on their own too. It's just, it's very tough. What's up, Pop? Hey, baby. Hi, baby. I think he's like his eyes are like closed. And you see what he's doing with his paw? He has like that one paw elevated. It looks like an injury on that leg. You know, a lot of times when the cats are outdoors and they've been outdoors for a few years and they're not fixed, they get into a lot of fights. So you'll see them like injured and stuff like that. You want to definitely try to grab those when you can, because injuries can just take the cats out just so quickly when they're outdoors. So, and you know, and they're resilient creatures. So like if you see an adult cat, chances are it's already got a really good immunity, and you know, helping it with an injury is just a great thing to do. But sometimes you'll see cats just drinking out of a puddle of water, and it could be something in there that's a contaminant to them. So they won't do that if they just have something simple, like a bowl of fresh water every day. So when you become aware of where these groups are, just start to, you know, make a regular point of trying to stop by there every day if you can. You know, monitor them, see if there's more. Do they come back? Is there kittens? So yeah, just getting a feel is good. Yeah, in the winter we were putting out a lot of water because that's the thing that becomes very tough for them to find. And then in the heat, it's important too. So it's like always carrying the little, you know, the bowls with me, like little paper bowls. And I always bring water, and I'll just usually see like one or two of them like diving into the water right away. Like you can tell they probably haven't drank anything in a while. Well, winter, unfortunately, is more harsh on them, just because of the freezing thing. And it's because oftentimes, especially with the snow, they'll get wet and they can't get warm. So when you have like a stretch of say like a week where it doesn't hit above freezing, if that cat stepped in the snow, the cat's wet and the cat can't dry off on its own. So it's like those cats suffer from like hypothermia. That's a tough thing. The heat is tough for them, but it's way easier for them to stay cool than it is for them to heat up. So yeah, the winter I say is tougher.
I went to work out of town. I went to a hotel and I saw a whole bunch of cat houses that were put there by somebody near the hotel. And I called Nancy and I sent her a picture. Hey, oh, you gotta look at this.
So the shelters are like Rubbermaid sort of 18-gallon tubs, and what you do is you create an entranceway on one side of it, and then on the inside you sort of line it with something that's insulating. So with us, we put the styrofoam, and that's a great material to put inside there, because when a cat goes into this little container, number one, it doesn't get wet because it's in this like plastic tub, and number two, the heat that their own body generates gets captured and caught in this container. It's like the same thing, like, you know, when you put something in a cooler, like to keep the temperature, they will warm it up where, I mean, I've put my hand inside after they're not even there anymore and you feel the heat. So it really makes a difference for them to be in those little spots. And you know, depending upon how well they get along, you know, 2 or 3 might jump in at the same time. Definitely with a mother, she'll put all the little kittens in there. So it can usually house a lot of, you know, and again, it's very discreet. You know, you wouldn't really know it unless you knew what those things were in the first place. You might just think they're just containers, and yeah. Right now, for me, the big push is to try to, you know, increase a little bit of funding so I can get a space, because I just house any cats that I'm taking care of or trying to fix right in my apartment now. And at this point, I have 0 room, like, you know, short of putting them in like the bathtub. That's pretty much it. So to really get this going a little bit further, I have to get some space locations. But again, that's part of what's nice about the community of people you work with. All I need to have is one person who has a garage that they're willing to like free up for the couple days when this cat's recovering. And people do that. Like, that's what's great about it. Like, people will reach out in emails and say, well, I have a vehicle, I can help transport them. Someone will say, well, I can help trap them, I can bring them the next day. So yeah, people, you know, are really, I really find that it's often that they're just missing one or two pieces. Otherwise, they can completely do this thing themselves. So if you can come in and help them with that, I mean, it makes all the difference between having like 500 cats or like 5. And he's about to stumble upon the little patch of meat that we left in the middle of the driveway. Hopefully he'll actually see it. Oh, he looks like he's going toward it. I think he found it. He found it. He's like, this is my lucky day.